here's what we've got for you. This is the format of the schedule. Of course, year one in 26 of the 9-game conference schedule and the mandate of one opponent from another Power 4 league or, of course, Notre Dame. Set it at the top, 13 weeks, one open date, as opposed to 14 weeks and 2 open dates, which we had this year. And it is still just a 16-team standings. There's no East, there's no West. Top 2 go to Atlanta to play for the conference championship. And here we go. We start with week number 1. This was a rematch, or will be a rematch of week 1 this year. This time it's at Auburn. Alex Golish's debut, taking on Baylor.
Alex Golish makes his debut as the Auburn head coach, going against Dave Aranda's defense. Never going to be an easy task in Atlanta at the Benz. They're going to get some extra cash to be able to go over there and play. Interesting that they're going to have that matchup in Atlanta.
Yeah, note, that's not at Auburn. That is in Atlanta. Meanwhile, Clemson LSU, this time at LSU's Death Valley.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. This is what everybody's going to be looking for. It's LSU and Lane Kiffin's first debut. And again, Clemson's coming off a rebound. They'll come in there with an attitude.
How about a relatively late-added neutral site game at the home of the Titans in Nashville, Ole Miss and Louisville?
Well, we get to see what Ole Miss looks like next year. We don't know who this team's going to be like. This is the thing that I really enjoy, because we see you don't get to carry over the successes of what you had last season into the following season.
Those 3 we just showed you,
Yes,
3 of the 6 new coaches between Golish, Kiffin, and Pete Golding. So here you go. You take a look at week 1 as a whole. Home games for Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Mississippi State, in addition to the Auburn game in Atlanta and LSU at home for Clemson. Elsewhere in week number 1.
Shame on you, Kentucky, for not giving us the Youngstown Bowl there and letting Mark Stoops coach in that game.
That'd have been something. That's a good point.
Right, Youngstown crew.
That's a great point. All right, so and UTEP visits Oklahoma. South Carolina trying to bounce back from a difficult year. Vandy in the post-Pavia era opens up at home against Austin Peay. That is week number 1. All right, let's go to week number 2 of next season, and you've got some big ones here. Ohio State, Texas, this time in Austin. Oklahoma, Michigan, this time in Ann Arbor. And a conference game early for Alabama against Kentucky.
Got to go to Lexington, play at Kroger Field, an underrated venue to play in. And early in the season, you don't want to deal with the distractions on the road, communication issues, different players in different places. That'll be a tougher one for Alabama, especially facing a new offense in Lexington.
Oklahoma took care of Michigan and Norman. Now they go to Ann Arbor week 2, and Michigan, who knows what they're going to look like.
We do not know what they're going to look. The last couple hours have been crazy, to say the least, about Michigan. But at the end of the day, it still is a prideful program, and can't wait to see what falls out of that one.
How about this one, a DK Arches?
Yeah, I can't wait to see this one, right? A rematch from last year, 14-7 game at Ohio State last year. What's this going to look like in Austin? Great matchup.
Remember, you're checking off those boxes, right? You got to get the non-SEC Power 4. Arkansas will be in Salt Lake facing
Really looking
Utah.
forward to that one. That's going to be a really good one. It was a great matchup this past year, and this one should be even better with Willingham.
How about a little border war back there?
Will that be Willingham's final season at Utah as well?
It could be. Maybe.
That's a 10-win football team this year. They'll be tough to manage.
Could be. Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Arizona State visiting Texas A&M and Mike Elko. As you look at the other week 2 games, again, home games for Auburn, Florida, Georgia, and LSU, as well as Ole Miss as they host Charlotte week 2. That had originally moved, and then South Carolina, Vanderbilt also at home. But a lot of good P4 battles in week number 2. Moving into week number 3, and here you go. Lane Kiffin takes his LSU Tigers to Oxford to face Ole Miss.
Yeah, you won't have to manufacture any emotion for that game. Right? You won't have to do that. It's going to be the talk of the town. It'll be the story of the day. But in the end, like anything, Cole, whoever focuses and executes, blocking out all this stuff is going to win it.
Yeah, you better find a way to fabricate some more security for that game. And those two coordinators knowing each other as well as they do makes it that much more interesting. Coach Norvell going to be back at Florida State. They'll travel to Tuscaloosa, Rome, to take on the Crimson Tide.
Little revenge
Factor for sure. We're going to see what happens. Is the black hoodie still in effect?
He hadn't had this game since 2011. John Sumrall, former Troy head coach there in the state of Alabama, will be taking on Alex Golish, former head coach at USF in the state of Florida. So 2 new head coaches doing battle at Jordan-Hare Stadium week 3.
And Cole, this has always been a great matchup.
Always.
The Florida games always have come down to the wire. Fun game.
Well, we had one in 96.
Taking a look at SEC versus Power 4 opponents, both in and out of conference. Of note, Vanderbilt welcomes in NC State out of the ACC. All right. And then, of course, you've still got schools like Missouri, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Texas going out of conference this week.
Hey, your Sooners better be careful with that. And that's a 9-win New Mexico team that has a dynamic offense. Just be careful that early in the season with that one.
And Troy has been giant killers in the past.
You know where else Sooners better be ready? For week number 4, because their first conference game of the year is at Georgia.
Okay. They were just at Michigan, right?
They were 2 weeks before that, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh. That's right. At Michigan, week 2. At Georgia, week 4. Sooners and Bulldogs getting each of their conference season going.
When was the last time Oklahoma played at Georgia?
I'm trying to remember if they ever have.
It would be a long, long time if they actually have.
Last time they played was that legendary Rose Bowl at the end of the 17 season in the national semifinal. Georgia won in double overtime. Texas A&M visiting LSU week number 4.
No, LSU, we expect them just to continue to roll through with Lane Kiffin. And also, Mike Elko will be in his 3rd year. He is leaps and bounds in improvement from year 1 to year 2. I can only expect the same in year 3.
2 new coordinators, though, for A&M this year.
Who is the real UT? We'll find out in Knoxville, perhaps on Rocky Top in week number 4.
They'll call this one an orange out. You won't have to tell your fans to wear specific clothing. It'll just work that way. But this will be fun. Tennessee offense, we saw them plug Joey Aguilar in last year. He's in court trying to come back for another year. Don't know if he'll be there or not for the Vols.
All that orange, that might be one of your blackout nights. Dark mode in Knoxville again, right? But a lot of new 6 coaches, right, taking over programs now in the SEC. And there's not going to be a big adjustment period for some of them, while others can ease in a little bit.
Well, the new coaches in the league, and it's not just going to be head coaches, coordinators as well. Right. We don't know what these teams are going to look like from a personnel standpoint with where the transfer portal is now. Your quarterback could up and leave tomorrow. You don't know what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, and now you're trying to bring in a new system with all new players. Who can get comfortable the earliest, I think, gives you a massive advantage. And now what we're going to get, much better earlier slate, fellas, than we've had maybe ever in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, for me, it's always a race to improve. Your teams improve the most between weeks 2 to 4. And so what you do in week 1 doesn't always kill you, but you do need to start somewhat fast. I always look at the teams that you're playing outside the conference. You got Florida State going to Alabama. You still have Ohio State going to Texas. The matchups that we're not used to seeing that really matter on the outside in big scale and big picture to determine which conferences are who we say are the big players in the playoffs, which are determined 10 or 12 weeks down the road. That's what I always like about this, including teams like Arizona State coming into this place.
I think the Lane Kiffin saga is going to be so interesting in the month of September. It's going to be the talk of the town. We know that. I hate to zero in on one specific item because there's so many great games in September, but LSU and Ole Miss is going to be as big as you can get in Oxford. I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
Now, those games always boil down to who can block out all the noise on the outside, who can literally take all of that emotion and shift it into execution, right? Emotion into execution. It's going to be a fascinating game. Think about the dynamics. Pete Golding's still there. We don't know what that team is going to look like.
True.
We know Pete's a great defensive coordinator. What's the offense going to look like? Who's going to be running the offense? Things of that nature. I think it's a fascinating storyline for the month of September.
All right, continuing on with our schedule reveal for 2026, we go to the month of October. That is week number 5. And, of course, the 2-time reigning Coach of the Year, Clark Lee, will take Vanderbilt on the road to Georgia. And Vandy's going to look quite a bit different than they have the last couple of years.
Well, but they now have that standard in how they built that offense and how that defense is going to attack you. It's all going to be who's pulling the trigger. Diego Pavia did so much for the operation of that offense. Whoever is next is going to have a very tough task.
Elsewhere in week number 5, Alex Golesh and Auburn make their way to a familiar place to Alex Golesh. They go back to Rocky.
Yeah, you look at this, it's going to be interesting, right? A new look offense at Auburn, but don't forget, a new look defense at Tennessee as well, with Jim Knowles now coming on board now that Tim Banks was out.
Let's think about Ronnie Brown running over a safety in 2004 at Knoxville.
Good. And then after, we had a decade where the game was in Arlington, and then last year it was in Arkansas. Now Arkansas goes to A&M, first time in a while.
I can't wait for this matchup. Look, anytime you go to College Station. You know how tough it's going to be. And Arkansas, just stop turning the football over.
Yeah, they almost beat them this year.
Just stop turning the football over.
That's what Ryan
3 ball
Silverfield
games.
is hoping, man. I mean, we cannot keep giving away football games. Silverfield, of course, out of Memphis, taking his first season with the Razorbacks. Elsewhere in week number 5, you take a look at all the games here. LSU's home for McNeese. Florida, Mizzou.
I love that one.
Bama in Starkville. You like Florida, Mizzou?
Yeah, I like that. It's going to be interesting.
Bama doesn't get to play in Starkville every other year now, Rome, so that's a fun matchup to be able to ride over there.
Those two, of course, met there in Athens, then in Atlanta. Georgia got the better of them in the ATL, and in 26, they beat Week 6 in Tuscaloosa, Georgia and Alabama. A couple of giants there going head-to-head in what should certainly be yet another stellar game between them. Also, Week 6, your typical second Saturday in October. It is Chiz Red River Rivalry.
Love it. Been in that game twice. It's an amazing, historical rivalry. And again, let's look at what happened to Texas this past year. That kind of propelled them. That win really kind of propelled them on the run that they went on. So again, it'll be interesting next year.
They have owned that rivalry of late. All right, take a look at Week 6 in all. Tennessee makes its way to Arkansas. Carolina to the Swamp. LSU to Lexington. Curious to see what Will Stein's Kentucky Wildcats look like. Of course, already hired a DC over from A&M, Jay Bateman. You look around the rest of the league, Vanderbilt hosting Ole Miss as well. That's Week 6. All right, let's look at Week 7 now. And again, keep seeing Alex Golish, a new life right now at Auburn, new enthusiasm, and they will head to Between the Hedges.
This is like secondary rivalry weekend here. You get third Saturday in October. You get the Deep South's oldest rivalry. A lot of fun in that one, Rome.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the only game I'm focused on. I ain't even looking at any other game on the schedule.
You built your brand on that
This
game.
is the game. This is why I wore what I wore today. Oh,
and then,
because of this game.
How about the game that likely kept Texas out of this year's playoff? The loss to Florida. Florida makes its way with John Summerall as head coach now to Austin.
Yeah, that game will be personal for the University of Texas. I can promise you when Florida comes rolling in there. But John Summerall, to Cole's point, man, he's going to bring a physical football team in there.
Week 7, LSU hosting Mississippi State. Mizzou makes its way to Oxford. Oklahoma hosts Kentucky. It's got to start lightening up a little for the Sooners after road games at Michigan and Georgia, then Red River. A&M hosts the Citadel in out-of-conference play, and the Razorbacks make their way to Nashville. That is week number 7 as we go to week number 8. A&M and Alabama, a couple of playoff teams this year going head-to-head at Bryant-Denny.
Well, you just don't know what either one of these teams will be bringing back. And so anytime you get big name brands traveling on the road where you don't always get them week to week, you always got to be excited about it. It'd be great opportunity for both of those teams.
Pete Golding, what's year 1 going to look like for him? I know he's got the playoff to lead the Rebels. They make their way to Austin.
We'll most likely see Arch Manning back at quarterback for Texas. John David Baker comes over from ECU. He'll take over the Ole Miss offense. What are they going to look like at quarterback? Is that going to be Austin Simmons now? Be a fun one to watch.
All right, elsewhere in week number 8, Kentucky, Vandy. Those two go head-to-head. Tennessee goes to South Carolina, and Oklahoma goes to Starkville, Mississippi, to face their former offensive coordinator, Jeff Levy. It'll be the first time these two schools have ever met. So you've gotten almost through October, but we got week 9's Halloween now.
Woo. Yes.
Ooh, scary is what we've got for you. Missouri, Arkansas, then you've got the game in Jacksonville. Actually, Atlanta this year. Atlanta, then Tampa the next 2 years because Jacksonville's being renovated. Auburn, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Texas.
We haven't mentioned much about Missouri just yet, Dari. Sorry about that. This is a team that could have their quarterback. Ahmad Hardy could be back at running back. Some of that offensive line could return intact. Don't know a lot about what Arkansas is going to look like with Ryan Silverfield, but personnel-wise, Missouri could have more of their core returning than a lot of the teams we've discussed.
And don't forget
today.
how good they've been on defense.
Oh,
I think people
fantastic.
overlook that, and they'll have a lion's share of those guys coming back as well.
For the Bulldogs.
They got there.
They got there eventually. So there it is. The rematch comes in week 10 as we make our way into November 7th to be exact. This time it's in Oxford.
I think to Cole's point, Georgia this late in the year, they are who they are,
Yep.
and they physically dominate you, right? They win games the way they want to win. They impose their will on you, so that's going to be a great one in Oxford.
All right. How about Como to Steve Sarkisian and the Longhorns make their way to Mizzou?
You know, Texas has to be ready to play this game on Missouri's terms. It's going to be at Missouri. You don't know how the weather's going to be. And Missouri's a team that wants to run the football in zone schemes and then make you play to their terms. Can Texas speed them up and get the downfield passing game going?
Talking about needing a better start, how about A&M against South Carolina? This time it's in Columbia, but we remember the tale of two halves at College Station.
What is this, like the Mayor's Cup trophy, the Governor's Cup trophy they play for? They tried to make this a rivalry game, but that is a difficult place to go play, specifically that late in the season if the Gamecocks are still looking at something big to play for.
All right, so you look at November 7th as a whole, Arkansas, Auburn. OU goes to the Swamp. Again, what will John Summerall's Gators look like as we get later into the season? Vandy makes its way to Starkville, Kentucky, Tennessee. The
fact that we have not mentioned Bama LSU through all of those games.
Yeah, you're right.
We've had 2 games of the Galaxy between those 2 teams, and we're just barely now mentioning it.
Thank you, Cole.
It's your game, Rome.
You're saying producer Randy should have had that as one of the VOs?
I don't see it in the rundown.
What are we doing?
Highlighted.
All right. Week 11.
Highlighted now?
Week 11, Texas visiting LSU in the battle between former Alabama offensive coordinators, right?
This game could go so many different directions. One thing that we haven't talked about with Texas, Arch Manning's going to get all the love. What's that defense going to look like? Some vets in the secondary. Anthony Hill Jr. going to be gone. He's not playing in the bowl game, but Colin Simmons will be back on the edge.
Arch Manning's going back to Louisiana.
That's true, too.
That's what we're going to be
little
focused on.
scheduling quirk. Ole Miss at OU, second straight year. They were in Norman, of course, and won this year.
Yes, they did, and had a great game. That was a really, really season-defining win for Ole Miss. Oklahoma's going to have to win these games coming down the stretch because of how hard this season is early on.
Hey, Rome.
What happened
Alabama's
here last
going
time?
to Vandy?
No.
What happened last time?
Winless in their last trip to Nashville?
Hey, just because you speak louder doesn't mean I can't hear you or that I don't remember. Yes, it was a loss last time. It's going to be a little bit of a revenge factor. We'll see what happens.
If I recall, something jumped into the river.
Later. Come on.
A couple years back in Nashville. Yeah, the
I'm
Gold
telling
Coast,
you, man.
perhaps. All right, so there you go. Week 11, other games here. Florida, Kentucky. Again, Florida at Kentucky, second straight year. We all remember what happened in Lexington this year.
And November 14th, Spurrier not having his way, getting that thing to the beginning of the season.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, good point. And by the way, this is all SEC versus SEC. 8 games, all conference games. Nice, clean, and tidy. Week number 11. Week number 12, which is the second to last week of the regular season. Oh, boy.
What?
There he goes. Now he's taking the Tigers to another place he goes.
Another headline. Yet another headline. Although the Tennessee will be juiced for this one, right? LSU going in there. At this point in the season, there could be a lot on the line for both teams. This could be an incredible matchup. But again, Lane Kiffin will hog the story.
Will there be golf balls?
Big 12 opponents now in the SEC together. Texas A&M visits Boomer and Sooner in Norman.
Always extra meaning with this one. Based on, like you said, Dari, the meaning, the history between these programs, and we expect big things from both next year.
From Reggie McNeil on one side to 77-0 on the other. Yep, there is plenty of history between those two teams. And then you've got Arkansas visiting Texas. Again, old Southwest Conference rivals meeting.
Yes, big-time rivalry here, especially from the Arkansas aspect of it. I would love to see how this game plays out in Texas, in DKR, to see how they treat it. And then all of a sudden, you better show up with the right attitude in that game. In rivalry games, throughout the record.
For Arkansas, that game is personal.
Yes,
From
that's what I'm
way
saying.
back. Like, they do not like
And
Texas.
second straight year in Austin. Again, we have a few situations because of the new scheduling where a team will go to a stadium 2 consecutive years. You saw the non-conference games that week. Now the conference games that week. What else jumps out to you here?
Georgia at South Carolina.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's see what they look like.
Because
right?
Georgia at South Carolina, because look, South Carolina's sneaky, really good hire, Kendall Browse,
there you go.
as the offensive coordinator, is going to give South Carolina some juice on the offense. And that, to me, is what they need big time to keep that quarterback set.
Not even sneaky good. It's a really good hire.
Thank you, Paul.
And Vanderbilt at Florida is interesting. Think about the years past where Vanderbilt went in there supposedly had no chance, and they upset the Gators.
You're talking Woody Woodenhofer's Vanderbilt?
100%. Woody Woodenhofer. That a way to pull it out.
All right, so then you've got, of course, rivalry week in week 13, the final week of the regular season. You've got the Iron Bowl. You've got the Lone Star Showdown on the Friday after Thanksgiving as well.
having that game on Friday night. We would love to have it on Thanksgiving, but to get Thanksgiving finished and then have that game that night was absolutely massive this year. Obviously leads into Egg Bowl, Iron Bowl, Tennessee, Vanderbilt the next day.
Indeed. Iron Bowl between DeBoer and Golish. The coaching matchup continues to change every year, it seems, in this game.
9 years now, right?
Yes,
But you know what? The game is somehow or another, no matter who's coaching in it, as of late, remains close.
So now the
Golding
Egg
ready
Bowl
here.
is back on Saturday.
That's right. It wasn't this year, wasn't it? This? No, it wasn't.
No, it was Friday
You're
this year.
right.
It's Friday.
Yeah, it was on, so now it's back on Saturday. Good. We get more and more to this. Maybe an opportunity to go check that game
great
out. That's
point.
going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I hadn't even
And then
thought that.
Tennessee, Vandy.
Yeah, they'd like a little payback with the Vols.
Tennessee would love that. It's the worst drumming that Tennessee has taken by a Vandy team.
Elsewhere, Week 13, you start looking at this from a non-rivalry standpoint and saying, yep, that's the team we're likely to end every year with. We've got the SEC, ACC games. Florida goes to Tallahassee. Kentucky gets to host Louisville. Georgia, not, as at least not yet, has sold the home game, right? They're going to stay in Athens to play Georgia
So they
Tech.
said, we don't need Joe Milton.
We don't need Joe 10 mil.
We don't
Georgia
need
Tech
it.
needed. South Carolina visiting Clemson.
Not much better than rivalry weekend. You just hear about those games, those matchups that we're going to get. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then now it makes more for a jam-packed Saturday to move two of them off of Friday into Saturday as well.
So, by the way, you see a QR code up here, right? You see that? If you want the schedules again, scan that. You'll go immediately to secsports.com and you can get your team's schedule.